On today's episode, we'll be uncovering the Nuremberg Trials. Why Nuremberg? At the end of World War II in 1945, the world faced an unprecedented question. How do you deliver justice for crimes so vast, so horrific, and so organized that they seemed beyond human comprehension? The Nazi regime had committed atrocities on an industrial scale: genocide, aggressive war, slave labor, medical experiments, and crimes against civilization across Europe. Over 60 million people had died in the war. 6 million Jews were dead. Europe lay in ruin, with entire cities reduced to rubble. For the first time in history, leaders of a defeated nation would be put on trial by an international tribunal, not just for war crimes, but for crimes against humanity, a new concept in international law. They would prosecute not entire nations or armies, but the men who commanded them. The city of Nuremberg, Germany, was chosen deliberately. It was the symbolic heart of the Nazi movement, the site of the infamous Nazi Party rallies. Its palace of justice was still standing and was large enough to host the proceedings. And it was in the American occupation zone. The Four Powers and the Tribunal. The tribunal was officially called the International Military Tribunal. Their mission was clear: to bring the leaders of the Third Reich to justice. It was created by the London Charter on August 8, 1945, signed by the four major Allied powers: the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, France. Each power supplied 2 judges, one main and one alternate, as well as one chief prosecutor. The chief prosecutors were Robert H. Jackson from the United States as a U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Sir Hartley Shawcross from the United Kingdom, François de Manson, who was later replaced by Auguste Champetier de Ribe from France, Roman Rudenko from the Soviet Union. The defendants. 24 of the most prominent surviving Nazi leaders were indicted, though not all stood trial. Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe and Hitler's designated successor. Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy. Joachim von Ribbentrop, a foreign minister. Wilhelm Keitel, head of the Armed Forces High Command. Ernst Kaltenbrunner, SS officer and chief of the Reich Main Security Office, to name a few. Justice Robert H. Jackson's opening statement remains one of the most powerful in legal history. That 4 great nations, flushed with victory and stung with injury, stay the hand of vengeance and voluntarily submit their captive enemies to the judgment of the law is one of the most significant tributes that power has ever paid to reason. The defendants sat in 2 rows, with armed guards behind each one, separated by railings. The Nazi insignia above the judges' bench had been removed and replaced by the flags of the Allied nations, symbolizing the reversal of Nazi power. The indictments. The 24 men were charged with 4 counts: crimes against peace, planning, and waging wars of aggression in violation of treaties. War crimes. Violations of the laws and customs of war, for example, murder of POWs. Crimes against humanity. Murder, enslavement, extermination, and persecution of civilians. Conspiracy to commit the above crimes. The trial was on the 20th of November, 1945 to the 1st of October, 1946. It was a milestone in legal history. It was the first time leaders were tried for acts committed in the name of the state. Proceedings were translated simultaneously into English, German, French, and Russian, using pioneering interpreting technology for the time. The evidence was overwhelming that the Allies presented: Nazi documents, meticulously recorded by the regime itself, eyewitness testimony from survivors and soldiers, films showing concentration camps' liberation, photographs, and detailed organizational charts of the SS and Gestapo. Every atrocity was laid bare, in black and white and on film. Over 3,000 tons of documents were seized by Allied forces and catalogued for use as evidence. The film, Nazi Concentration Camps, complied by the US Army Signal Corps, was shown in court, and it was one of the first times moving pictures were used as legal evidence. Notably, the Nazi defense argued that they were following orders, stating, "Befehl ist Befehl," which in German means orders are orders. The court rejected this, establishing that individuals are responsible for their actions, even under state authority. Responsibility, the court declares, is personal. The world watched as the men who once ruled Europe reduced to silence. Goering tried to dominate the room, unrepentant, portraying the Nazi regime as a patriotic effort that simply lost the war. Speer admitted moral guilt but denied knowledge of genocide. Julius Streicher, the publisher of Der Stürmer, ranted until he was silenced. The evidence mounted. From the invasion of Poland to the extermination camps, the forced labor programs, and the systematic murder of millions. It is the Nazi state itself, its machinery of terror, that is truly on trial through these men. The verdicts. Verdicts were delivered on the 1st of October 1946. 12 defendants were sentenced to death by hanging. 3 were sentenced to life imprisonment. 4 received prison sentences 10 to 20 years. 3 were acquitted. However, Hermann Goering cheated the gallows by swallowing a cyanide capsule hours before his execution. The remaining executions were carried out at Nuremberg prison on the 16th of October 1946. At the time, not all were in favour of the trials. Winston Churchill originally preferred immediate executions. The Soviets wanted harsher punishment and were uneasy about being co-defendants, given their own war crimes. The American and European public was deeply affected by the film evidence, as it was the first real exposure to the concentration camp horrors. Over time, Nuremberg became a symbol of moral accountability. Aftermath and legacy. After the executions, the bodies were cremated and their ashes scattered in the Isar River to prevent the creation of Nazi shrines to graves, monuments, or martyrdom. But the legacy of the trials was immense. The birth of international law. Nuremberg established the legal foundation for the United Nations Genocide Convention in 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, the Geneva Conventions in 1949, the International Criminal Court decades later in 2002, the Principles of Nuremberg. The UN later codified 7 key Nuremberg principles in 1950, including individuals are accountable under international law. Following orders is not a defense. Crimes against peace, war crimes and crimes against humanity are punishable. The subsequent Nuremberg Trials. Between 1946 and 1949, 12 additional trials were held under US authority, known as the subsequent Nuremberg Trials. They targeted doctors, judges, industrialists, SS officers, and others. These expanded the scope of accountability beyond political leaders to those who enabled atrocities. Moral and historical impact. Nuremberg was more than a courtroom. It was the world's reckoning with its own conscience. The trials did not erase the horrors of the Holocaust, but they changed the course of human history. For the first time, the world declared that there are crimes so grave they offend all humankind. Robert H. Jackson warned that these trials would not just judge the Nazis, but humanity itself. The record on which we judge these defendants today is the record on which history will judge us tomorrow. The world had looked into the face of evil, and for the first time, dared to name it. From the ruins of Nuremberg rose a fragile promise that even in war, even in the darkest of times, the rule of law must endure and justice will prevail, even if it's delayed. For the first time, never again had legal teeth. The trials did not heal the scars of the Holocaust or the war, but they redefined civilization's moral boundaries, drawing a line between war and barbarism. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for your weekly History Made Simply episodes.